Hey guys, what is up? This is V4V, a podcast created to make your days bright and your nights even brighter. So, hi guys. So, as you can see, I have this neat new setup. This is actually a birthday gift to myself, and yeah, and that's it. I just wanted to show that off. But honestly, I'm excited for today's episode because I this is the first time I'll be having a guest who I never talked to physically or I never talked to on the phone before. And yeah, it's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be very spontaneous because, as I said, it is our first time talking to each other. And yeah, we just met each other through, well, it's usually a dating app, but we use the what do you call it, the business side of Bumble. So we met through Bumble, and it's amazing actually. You can get a lot of connections through Bumble. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my guest. So my guest is Isabel Pablo, and yeah, you
Hi,
can speak now, Isabel.
hi everyone. Hi Angelo, thank you for having me here in Viva for Variety. I'm excited for the things that we're gonna discuss, and yeah, like you said, I'm stoked to meet you. Yeah, and I'm looking forward.
All right, hello. So I'd like to get to know more about you. Who are you? What is your story? And yeah, that's it. Who are you and what's your story?
Okay, so again, my name is Isabel. No, I recently founded my own social media management and management consultancy agency. It's called GK Creatives and Consultancy. So yeah, there are two sides to it. The one side is yeah, like I mentioned, we focus on helping SMEs, individuals, and even startups to build their social media
Mm-hmm.
presence. Meanwhile, sa consultancy side naman, we have project management, business documentation services. So ayun, thankfully, alam mo, what I love about what I do is that I was able to meet a lot of people. I still am meeting people like you right now. So
Yeah.
I and kasi ako, I believe in the idea that your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development because success is something you actually attract by the person you become. So I suppose this venture is very important for me because it's helping me grow internally, no, kumbaga, and mentally. It's setting me up to become more mentally resilient sa mga challenges. And what I love about what I do is that it's opening me up to a lot of opportunities and I'm meeting a lot of people hailing from different industries. So I used to think na I'm stuck in a box kasi I came
Mm-hmm.
from an 8 to 5 job. Alam mo yan? And then I used to think na, yeah, that's it. Life set out for me. But then I realized sometimes there's this, you're building, there are situations where we are keeping ourselves inside of what we call comfort zone. It's there and I don't even realize. So ayun. And thankfully, yeah, I had the courage to pick it up. I had the courage to venture, to think outside the box, and yeah, that's why I'm here.
Oh my God, that was so great. Actually, I'd like to know, did you start your business during the pandemic or before the pandemic?
Okay, we were officially registered this year lang, but the idea has already been there since last year. Last
Oh,
year pa.
okay.
Yeah, at the height of the pandemic, ayun, clients were, may mga inquiries, of course, and then it started among ano lang relatives. Then, ayun, it bloomed. Thankfully, it bloomed into what it is today.
All right. Oh my God. I'm so happy for you. So,
Thank you.
today we actually planned what we are gonna talk about, but not plan in a way that every flow and thing is taken accounted for. We just basically I just basically told her the topic. We talked about the topic, and then yun, we didn't even plan anything. So that's the exciting part here. So our topic today is languishing. And what is languishing for you, Isabel?
Okay, I love that. Okay, languishing. It's kind of, I saw this, I came across this post online actually in LinkedIn. I've been sobrang babad sa LinkedIn recently. Lagi talaga na sa
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn, for building connections and learning a lot of stuff from different people. And then I came across this post, si languishing, which means the empty feeling you get inside, especially it's like a feeling of uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
And the post said that it's going to be a dominant feeling this 2020 and 2021. So I used to think na I couldn't describe, I couldn't contextualize what I'm feeling kasi parang alam mo yun,
Mm-hmm.
you're getting somewhere, you're waking up every day, but you don't know where you're headed. So,
Yeah.
and that's a term, languishing. So, it's a dominant feeling because of the pandemic nga. Tapos, how do I put this? In a way, I feel that the pandemic was kind of a blessing in disguise
Mm-hmm.
for me because I used to be I used to be incredibly career oriented. You know,
Mm-hmm.
as in talagang I used to be so focused na everything I do has to contribute to my goal. But then the
Yeah.
pandemic happened, the ECQ happened, and it kumbaga lahat tayo parang nag-reset. Alam mo yon, lahat
Mm-hmm.
tayo parang we were stuck inside our homes, ganyan. And then I realized, really enough, well, I realized na all the things I need or all the things that matter are just, they're not actually outside. They're just here. They're just near me. Parang ganon. So parang
Mm-hmm.
what else am I striving for? What else am I working so hard for? Kumbaga, when we sometimes we get so fixated on the end goal, on the end process that I'm missing out on my personal journey. And I used to that sabi ko nga, di ba, I used to be so career oriented. Na
Mm-hmm.
talaga I seldom go out, I seldom meet people kasi sabi ko if it's not gonna be productive, I'm not gonna waste time. But this pandemic made me realize na people matter, relationships matter,
They do.
sobra.
They do.
They do, di ba, Angelo? And I realized na for parang of what use is all the success and the glory if hindi ako like nag-enjoy, or like if I'm traversing a journey na I know not where parang I'm not sure where it's headed. So ayun, kumbaga yung si languishing and then the pandemic, parang it made me realize na sometimes you just have to slow down. Sometimes you just have to
Mm.
dance and so carelessly in the rain. We don't have to be so pressured for human beings. We're supposed to enjoy life.
That's true.
You
That's
know,
true.
I don't want to get to the end of my life and realize na I've only lived the length of it. Parang ganun. I want to be able to live the width of it as well. So, ayan.
Actually, I'd like to ask, like, because before you mentioned that you were running a 8 to 5 job, and also that um
That was a good
and
job.
also
I learned so much
it,
from that.
oh really? Okay, okay. I thought it was something really anguishing for you, but you used to run an 8 to 5 job, and then you also mentioned that parang there was something that you were striving for before the pandemic, and now you're in the pandemic. Like, could you explain what is that thing? What were you striving for before the pandemic, and now the pandemic happened, and what changed?
Okay, that's a very good question. I love that, Angelo. Now that you ask me what was that goal, in hindsight, ano nga ba yung goal ko? Diba? I just know I had to succeed as a career woman. Yun yung goal.
Mm.
See, it was so vague, it was so ambiguous and abstract that I don't even have a picture of how the end goal should look like. I was just striving as I just want
Mm-hmm.
to succeed as a career woman. Wala akong clear picture of where I was headed. So you see, now that you asked that question, it made me realize na, oh nga naman, ano nga ba yung goal ko nun? Diba? I was just traversing, I was just waking up, going to work every day, not knowing where I'm headed, like I mentioned. I just know I had a job to fulfill,
Mm-hmm.
and then I have accounts to manage, clients to engage with, ganyan. But where does that take me? Parang ganon, in hindsight. So now, um, how has the pandemic changed my mindset?
Yeah.
First, I realized that success doesn't have to be this big, grand celebration of things. No,
Mm-hmm.
success is success can actually be found in the small things that we have every day. Parang what was wrong with me before is I used to hold up, or I used to there's a quote for it, but I forgot. But yeah, I used to hold up for the finish line before I celebrate my victories. And now I'm
Mm-hmm.
learning to celebrate my small successes. Kumbaga, yun na yung mahalaga sa akin. For example, today I woke up on time. I didn't snooze my alarm. That kind of success kasi I realized I'm building my habits.
Yeah.
Tapos, I eat a good food with my cousins. I'm very family oriented, by the way. And yeah, my favorite team in F1 won, or kaya
Oh.
yeah, or kaya I I cook a pasta that my cousins loved, or my cousins baked the cheesecake. That kind of small mundane that used to be so mundane before the pandemic now matters to
Mm.
me sobra. As in, parang because of the pandemic, mas na-appreciate ko mag-stay at home and build relationships, build bonds. Kumbaga, mas
Mm.
important na siya sa akin. So like, instead of striving for success, I think when there will come a point where success will naturally come to you as long as you're constantly improving and building your habits so
Mhm.
that you'd set up for it.
Yeah.
But the time you share with people, hindi eh, you actually have to also work hard for it. So yun yung nag-shape ng mindset ko right now. Mm.
Yeah, actually, and towards like how that relates to languishing, it's amazing because one of the antidotes to languishing or the feeling of stagnancy, demotivation, or because languishing is like um you're not depressed, but you're not happy either.
Yes,
You're
yes, that's
it's like somewhere it's somewhat in the middle, and I learned that through a an article I read. So I'm just saying, and yun, like relationships actually is one of the key antidotes to battling languishing, like what Isabel said. When you interact, when you learn how to interact, or actually just messaging first does a lot, or talking first does a lot, because me and my dad, I think our relationship before the pandemic was not really that close, but because of the pandemic, because I see his face every single day, um yeah, we got into some conflicts, some that conflicts that we never really would have had if it wasn't for the pandemic, and that actually helped us, work closer. And I have a question for you. I have another question for you actually. um you know how do you actually manage to, you know, build those habits? Like as you said, like what do you do to keep yourself straight in those habits? Like do you, and also share like how you actually stay away, because it's hard to keep yourself up with those habits. So could you, give me some advice to.
building habits. Okay. First of all, what yung mga sometimes when you wake up in the morning and then you scroll through your Facebook timeline and daming
Mm.
quotes about building habits. They're if I'm being honest, they're kind of yes. Because it's
It
hard.
is.
Building habits is very, very hard. It's very challenging. And
Mm.
believe me when I say that right now, I'm struggling to wake up at 7. Waking up at 7,
Ooh.
even with an alarm, is a challenge for me. But I have to constantly push myself to achieve it, alam mo yon. Or
Mm.
for example, finishing a work on time. Or let's say, gusto ko by 12, saktong 12 p.m., I should be having lunch. And I have lunch at, let's say, 12:30, even 1 p.m. So, building habits are, kumbaga, step by step. Okay?
Mm.
You don't have to, how would I say this? Parang hindi naman, it's kind of like micromanaging your activities.
Mm-hmm.
Kumbaga, step by step siya. For today, I didn't wake up at 7. Sige, try ko muna 8. Okay, it's consequential. It's one
Yes.
step at a time. So for example, hindi man ako makagising ng let's say 7 today. I'll try 8. All right. And then tomorrow maybe 7:30 kaya ko na a little bit earlier kumbaga. And then for example, when it comes to building my habits with time management, ayan.
Mm-hmm.
For example, one activity, one task for the day took me an hour. Okay, tomorrow instead of gunning for 30, I'll try 45 minutes muna. If I can do
Mm.
if I can produce the same quality na I did with 1 hour in 45 minutes lang. And then, the next step is, I'll find a way to do that within 30 minutes. Ganon. So, kumbaga, I don't go from 0 to 100 agad in terms of building my habits or in
Mm.
terms of with anything in life, in terms of achieving a goal. I don't go from, I don't gone for the big reward agad or the instant na, oh, ganito, tapos na ako, ganyan. I go, kumbaga yan, small steps. 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to let's say 40, ganon. It's very hard to build habits. It's easy for people to say it. All it takes is discipline. It's not. Sometimes kasi no matter how much you want to achieve it, yung body mo, yung circumstances mo are not in your favor.
Yeah.
So it's hard. It's hard to keep up with it. But I would, people are right naman when they say all it takes is discipline. That's true. Kaya lang, ayun, I just divide my time into manageable tasks. So, ayun, yeah.
Yeah, actually, one thing I find hard about like being on a schedule or being on time is it's a Chinese term. I actually read this. It's actually funny. Wait, I'm looking through my notes. It's a Chinese term. It's called Baofu Baofu Xing Baofu Xing Aoye. Basically, it's called revenge bedtime procrastination. And to repeat, revenge bedtime procrastination. That's what it means. And that's actually one of the effect of the pandemic. Actually, just staying up so late. I have a lot of friends that stay up so late till like 4 till like 6. And I was wondering if you experience the same thing. Like, you know, um like my first impression of you, you're that person who's very disciplined. You're that person who tries to build a lot of habits. And yeah, and I just see you as a very disciplined person, very good person. And do you feel this parang revenge bedtime procrastination na usually before you won't even stay up to 12, but now we're staying up till like 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 6 a.m. Does this happen to you?
Thankfully, no naman. I
Really?
mean, there were times, yes, especially nung first round ng ECQ last year. Grabe, grabe talaga. I feel so compelled to like stay up just so I could feel na kahit pa paano may nagawa ako, I was able to achieve something throughout the
Mm-hmm.
day. I used to be like that, but no, sleep is very important to me. Sleep is underrated.
How
It's
do
very
you
important.
how do you sleep? Like honestly, like I try to sleep. I try to sleep at 12, but I end up sleeping at 2 a.m. not because I'm on my phone, but because I'm just staring at my ceiling. I don't know what to do. So like what do you do? Like what's your schedule? How do you get to sleep?
Okay. Okay. I think you're familiar with the idea na you have to protect your peace. That kind
Mm.
of mantra, ganun. And sleep is part of me protecting my peace. So parang I make it a point na let's say if kaya ko ng 11 or 10, minsan 9 p.m., done na ako by all my tasks. And then I spend the remaining 3, siguro let's say I sleep at 11 or 12, no?
Mm.
And then 3, and then let's say I finish my work by 9 or 7. Um, I spend that moment, bonding with my cousins, bonding with the people I am with
Mm.
at home.
Mhm.
Tapos, here's the challenge kasi because we're so connected with our devices,
Yeah.
I feel so compelled to like watch one episode of something, one episode of a series I'm watching bago ako
Yeah.
matulog. But kasi there are times na you get so tired lang from working.
Mm.
The good kind of tired. You get so tired of working na the sleep automatically comes to me. Ganon. So, ayun. But before, I understand what you feel, Angelo. Actually, before then, alam mo yung I'm on my bed na by, let's say, 10, pero I sleep at 12 or 1. Just
Mm.
feeling
Yeah.
nothing, just being so. I think it's the anxiety creeping in. If I were to contextualize it that way, it's the
Mm.
anxiety inside me creeping in. Na parang bakit ganito? Bakit parang I didn't feel as productive today as I was before. Ganon.
Mm.
I think that's the anxiety speaking in, and I used to distract myself by watching Netflix, by making babad sa Netflix. Tapos parang inisip ko, something has got to change. Kumbaga, yun yung trigger ko. Na parang, if I am not feeling satisfied by the end of the day, I look at what transpired throughout my day and find out what is it that I could do better tomorrow. Parang ganun. Okay, today, tomorrow, I'll be more productive. I'll do this, I'll achieve this. And every
Mhm.
time I get that kind of satisfaction of being able to tick all the boxes of my to-do list, yun, thankfully, I'm able to sleep naman peacefully. So, ayun. But I get what you mean. Before talaga, I know it's the anxiety inside me creeping in na parang, bakit parang getting nowhere? I'm doing so much work but I'm getting nowhere. So, ayun. Doon na papasok yung difference ng being productive and being busy. But yeah.
Actually, what you said made so much sense. The thing about like the reason why I stay up so late is because I don't really feel that satisfied with how my day transpired. And yun, I think the answer to it talaga is change, like what you said, that mindset of trying to change things every day, trying to experiment with activities or your to-do list or how much things can you do like in a day to make you feel satisfied, something like that. And that made so much wait. That made so much sense. Oh my god.
Mm-mm.
Actually. Like when
Actually,
you
for ano, yeah, so after you.
oh, okay, like when the days when I feel productive, I get to sleep nicer. I get to sleep better knowing that I did what I could throughout the day. Like yun. And also the days where I don't get to sleep at all is when my thoughts wander so much. I think of so much stuff. Maybe I could have done this, maybe I could have done that. What will I do tomorrow? And I know it is anxiety, I think. And what were you about to say, Isabel?
Yeah. Siguro one trick to go to bed early or like to fall asleep early is read a book. Ako talaga, I make it a habit. Ayan, habits. Read at least one or two or minsan nagiging one chapter of a book before I sleep.
Mm-hmm.
It can be the same book I've read many times, just so I can absorb the thoughts very well. Sometimes kasi, kakabasa mo na, kusa ka ng antokin. You know that episode sa Mr. Bean when he was counting ships?
Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah. I do.
That kind of trick. Na parang, okay, nabasa ko na to. I know how it's gonna end. And then the next thing you know, I mean, wala, you have those off successfully. So, ayun. That can also be a trick. Yeah.
Actually, I'd like to because I think I strayed away from the topic of languishing to sleeping, but I'd like to know more of your thoughts on languishing. Like how had it affected you? Like what do you do to at least battle it? Or were you hard on yourself when you felt this? Like give me your thoughts.
Okay, I love that. I love that. Thanks, Angelo. Okay, last year was very disorienting for me. I was stuck at home for like 3 months, ganyan. And
Mm-hmm.
don't get me wrong. I understand there are much bigger problems outside, of course. So whenever I think of it that way, parang I realize what I'm suffering now is inconsequential. It's like it's small compared to what
Mm-hmm.
other people are experiencing. Of course, I understand that part. Kaya lang, I cannot downplay my feelings. I have to understand the
Yeah, that's
negative.
correct.
Kasi I'd like to believe that you cannot ignore these feelings and pretend that everything's gonna be okay, that eventually things will turn out well, because a life lived not understanding these negative emotions is a life of not understanding myself. Kaya sabi ko, okay, I have to figure out what's happening. So last year, at the peak of languishing, which tumama sa peak ng quarantine, ganyan, I feel
Mm-hmm.
so disoriented. Imagine like from waking up to 6 a.m. I went
Mm-hmm.
to waking up at 1 p.m. So, kumbaga, half a day
Oh,
already passed and I'm nowhere. Alam mo yun, I'm getting nowhere. I haven't done anything. And then, sorry for that. And then,
it's okay.
I figured, okay, sige, something has got to change. So, thankfully, I found, well, of course, I was doing work pa rin. I was doing, so parang sabi ko, a change in my, how do I put it into words? A change in environment shouldn't change my pace. Kumbaga,
Mm-hmm.
dito napapasok yung building habits effectively. So much so that even if you're feeling languished, even if you're feeling down, because you've been so accustomed to it, kumbaga nandun na yung discipline mo, kusa mo na siyang gagawin. Kaya ayun. But
Mm-hmm.
I suppose languishing for me is, I was neither depressed, but I was not happy as well. So ayun. Siguro, well, sorry, now that I mentioned happiness, no, one thing I learned from that feeling of languishing and that feeling of being at home for a very long time
Mm-hmm.
is that, katulad ng sinabi ko kanina, happiness doesn't have to be grand. Okay, it's not in the big, flashy, shiny things. Happiness is in the small things that I do every day. Kumbaga, parang dati I used to think na pag na-achieve ko 'to, na-close ko 'to, nagawa ko 'to, na-submit ko 'to on time, I'm happy. But the feeling isn't as grand as I think it would be. Kumbaga, I can be happy with smaller achievements. I can be happy with smaller milestones, ganon. So, kumbaga, to combat that feeling of languishing at the time na I was very uncertain with my future, what I did was I looked into the people I am with. Yun talaga yung
Mm.
sasabi ko, yun yung parang big game changer for me eh. The people I stay with at home, na parang ang saya namin with all the mundane things we're talking about, with all the crazy non dati kasi sa akin alam mo, all conversations have to make sense, ganyan. All
Mm-hmm.
conversations have to be productive. It should be getting me somewhere, ganyan. But then I realized, hindi naman pala ganon. It's very wrong of me to think that way. It's very self-absorbed. It's very wrong. Kaya to combat that feeling of languishing, I looked into my family, parang ganyan. They played a big role. Kumbaga, parang I value the time we share. I value the nonsense things that we talk about and just generally laugh about it. Or kaya I value the small things that we do together. Kunwari, for example, watching F1 races together,
Mm-hmm.
ganyan. O kaya watching or eating food, baking stuff na that's gonna fail, that's not gonna taste good. It's okay. It's okay. Doesn't have to be something grand. It's just have to be something you enjoy with the people you're with. Kumbaga yun yung naging answer ko to languishing. And then once na I felt happiness with the people around me, then I realized na I'm happy within myself. Alam mo yun? Kumbaga. So
Yeah.
I started taking conscious actions to provide a direction for my life. When I know the instant I felt I'm being stagnant na, or even last year, the instant I felt na I'm being stagnant or being stuck in my comfort zone without me even realizing it. Doon na ako nag-decide na parang, okay, this has gotta change. I have to figure out something. I have to figure out where I want to go. So,
I actually really, I like what you've said. Like, honestly, like there are articles that I've read about how do you say this? How like having good relationships with people is one of the things that will make you live your life longer and happier. Like those relationships that you build with your family, your friends, your loved ones, those matter. And not just, it's not bullshit because it's backed by science. If you actually search in Google right now how relationships help you live your life longer and happier, it will be backed by science. And
mhm,
also, I like what you said about happiness because, well, those nonsense things or those mundane things, it might not mean a lot for other people. It might not mean a lot in the grand scheme of things or in the universe to exact. But the thing is, like, if it makes you happy, then it does mean a lot. The tiny things you do every day. Like for me, for example, I try to make my bed every day, and that makes me really happy because before the pandemic, I didn't make my bed. I just go straight to school. I just go, straight to breakfast. I don't even treat my breakfast well. I just eat bread. That's it. Like I don't treat my body well, and those little things matter really a lot. And I'm a big advocate of sending or taking the initiative to text someone or to message someone because I don't know, like don't be afraid to message someone or to text someone because that helps a lot. And also intimacy. Like you could be having a lot of friends right now. You could be having 1,000 friends, but honestly, like if you have one friend that you're very intimate with that you talk intimately with all your secrets, you can confidently boast with them. That matters a lot. That will help you throughout, this journey in the pandemic that should have been over a year ago. But, you know, shit happens. And I'd like to ask you, or I keep on asking you stuff, but well, it is a podcast. But I'd love to hear your mindset about productivity, like how it should be, because I know there's a bad kind of productivity, toxic productivity, or that hustle culture where you don't really care about yourself or your relationships around you. But I'd like to ask, like, what's your mindset right now on productivity?
Okay. Ano nga ba ang mindset ko with productivity? Siguro I learned so much about being productive now that now that I'm running my own business. I used to think
Mm.
that the more things I get done, the more things I squeeze in a day, the more productive it is. No, you know, or kaya the more time I spend doing things that I think matter, the more productive I become. No, that's not that's not effective. Siguro right now my mindset on productivity is if I can produce the same quality result with minimum time required,
Yeah.
that's productivity for me. For example, if kaya kong gumawa na, I mentioned I'm in social media management, right? For example, if I can build an idea for a content in less than 15 minutes, pero um this kind of um this kind of result will impact the rest of the month. I
Mm-hmm.
guess that's important. Actually, in managing productivity, what I follow is what is yung Eisenhower matrix. Are you familiar with Eisenhower matrix?
I am not. Please explain. Please explain.
The Eisenhower matrix is that we used to think anything that urgent that comes up in our day, dapat yun yung unahin. It's wrong. It's a dangerous mindset actually. You would think,
Mm-hmm.
kasi imagine if you come into a day with a schedule, alam mo na eh, papasok ka, or you wake up, alam mo na yung gagawin mo. But because
Yeah.
something urgent always happens, something urgent will always come up naman in a day. So dahil alam mong urgent siya and time sensitive, yun ang unahin mo lagi. But
Mm-hmm.
what will happen to the rest of your day kung yun ang mapaprioritize, di ba? So I guess with maintaining productivity, I make it a point that I have my priorities are in order. So
Mm-hmm.
sabi ni dun sa Eisenhower matrix, what I do is I protect the first 2 hours of my day, dedicating it to a task that will dictate, kumbaga uunahin ko muna yung I will accomplish the tasks first that will affect the rest of my work. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
dun lang siya. Hindi ko muna gagawin yung small or like na, small urgent things that will, you know, kumbaga long term lang, short term effect lang naman siya. So I will protect the first 1 or 2 hours of my day, doing things, or for example, fixing a system, building a roadmap, that kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. Yun muna unahin ko because that will affect how will my business run, or it will affect how all of my activities will get done. And then once na nagawa ko na yon, then I'll move to the regular tasks, ganyan. Tapos ipapasok ko na yung mga urgent. But those that I
Mm-hmm.
think are not so important, I delegate. So, ayun, that's also very important. I used to think na to be productive, you have to do everything. That's wrong. That's criminally wrong. Kasi the art of delegation is very underrated. Kumbaga, if there are things na you know you can do, but you can provide an avenue for other people to do it, then why not delegate? Kumbaga, of
Mm-hmm.
in hopes na they would also learn from doing that same task. Kaya ayun. So ayun lang. With I really follow si Eisenhower. I do the things that will impact the rest of my business for the first 2 hours. Tapos the following hours I follow my sked na. Ganyan. And ako, I value time. Talagang, I value time. I don't compromise on being late. Ganyan. I avoid it as much as I can. So, ayun. And, ayun lang.
I
That's it.
actually I noticed like I noticed kagad like how much you value time because you actually arrived in the Zoom meeting at 10:30 a.m. exact, and I'm like, whoa, this didn't happen for like the first 6 episodes. Like with my guests, they
Oh,
actually
I
come
did
a
the
bit more
service.
late. Yeah, like I got surprised. Like I don't know, it's amazing. Like it feels good to start on time for once. It feels good to go through your daily schedule, and yeah, and I I think I should do your parang the Eisenhower matrix. So I'm gonna try to explain it back to you, the Eisenhower matrix, so I know that I get it myself. So
Okay.
basically, the first 2 hours of your day is
Mm-hmm.
basically something to build foundation on. It's like the foundation of your day.
Yes,
Basically,
yes.
what that is telling you that the first 2 hours that you spend will dictate how your day will go.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, I will choose my first 2 hours to
Mm-hmm.
not spend spend it on urgent things such as parang may nag-message sa akin na question about a class, sasagutin ko kagad. That's a big no, right?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Mm-mm.
Okay, okay. Okay, so I get it. I get it. I'm happy. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
nice.
Mm. And
And
then
yo, go,
one
go.
thing to remember also with that is that, for example, those tasks that are important but not so urgent naman can be scheduled. Okay, if you
Mm,
think that they're not as pressing as the other items on my list or on your list, you schedule them for another day because we only have like 24 hours a day. So, kumbaga, let's say you sleep as an adult, as realistically as possible, we sleep like, let's say, 5 to 8 hours, ganyan. You cannot squeeze everything into a day. So the rest na you feel are not as pressing, you can schedule some other time. So, ayun. And following that also helps you eliminate wastes. Kumbaga, you would think lahat ng tasks kailangan gawin, kailangan. No, there are
mm-hmm.
just tasks that won't really impact anything. So you might schedule or delay it. So, ayun. Yun lang.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I'd like to ask something about your business actually. Like
Yeah.
um I'm really curious because I have a lot of, well, not really a lot. I have viewers who, because I have viewers who would like to start their own business and all that. And it's really hard to start a business during these days. So, is there something you could say to them that would parang give them advice on how to start a business, whether it's for baking, whether it's for content creation, whether it's for yun, creative. So I'd like to ask your opinion on that.
Okay. Starting a business is always gonna be scary because there's no promise of success there. There isn't. There isn't. But the hardest part in starting a business is step one. Decide that you're actually gonna start it. That's the hardest part.
Yeah.
Because once you decide that you're actually gonna start it, everything else is gonna follow. Okay. But the
Mm.
thing is, before you even start a business, any business yan, um, because there's no such thing as easy money, ganyan, wala. Okay,
Mm.
it's all bubbles and sunshines and rainbows. It doesn't exist. So I think the first step is to decide that you will actually do it, that you actually want it. And second is to understand that you have to do it for a long term. Even if not a
Mhm.
long term, but you have to have a mindset na long term siya. Hindi siya like for fun lang or on the side. Kahit nga businesses that people do on the side, it still takes a lot of work. So you have to
Mhm.
actually put, or like, I couldn't emphasize effort enough. So, ayun, that's the first step. Get started. Decide that you will do it. Second, once you have decided to do it, second is study your market. Okay, so dyan na papasok yung doing consumer market research or
Mm.
market survey, market analysis. So to understand where you are in the industry, what is it that you can offer? How do you plan to offer it? What is it that you do best that others perhaps can't? Or like what is it that others are missing? So you have to find a gap that your business can fulfill. Okay.
Mhm.
And then yeah. And then what else? Siguro after getting to that point, you have to lay the foundation na. So you have to um eto you have to seek opinion. I wouldn't say seek opinion, but like you have to consult with let's say experts. It doesn't have to be industry
Mhm.
experts, but people who have experience running businesses. So you have to consult with them. You might think na parang you're playing yourself small, but no. Actually, it's very helpful. Alam mo yan, Angela, no? I
Yeah,
suppose.
yeah.
'Di ba? Parang we used to think na asking people for advice is such a tall order, but it's not. We live in an interconnected world. Where it's interconnected. So everything people do will somehow affect each other
Mm.
in minute of ways. So I think once you have consulted with the right people, once you have asked their advice, then you get the ball running. And so you set up the things that you need, you set up your devices or equipment, or like let's say, well, for some they set up the capital, ganyan. Tapos from there you decide, um you have to decide your marketing plan. And
Mhm.
how do you plan to market this in the future? Because it's not enough that you have a good service or a good effort. Once you, sorry, quick lang.
It's all right, no problem. Go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, so as I was saying, once you have, sorry, where was I?
You were at like consulting. You were in the topic of consulting
So ayan,
others.
once you have laid the foundation, and once you have let's say received advice from people, that's the point. That's the part where you can lay the ground running. So kumbaga, yan na ipunin mo na what are the things that you're gonna need. What's your marketing what's your marketing plan like? What's your branding? What is your brand gonna mean for people? How do you
Mm-hmm.
want your business to come across for other people, for your consumers? And what gap will you be feeling? Kasi, it's very easy for us to think of a business, then shell out, then burn out, and then think of another business, then shell out and burn out. Alam mo yun? So as long as
Yeah.
you find that gap that you think your business could fulfill, and then then you draft a creative market or like an effective market and plan for it, then yeah, I suppose you're good to go. But
All right.
actually, it's the tip of the iceberg, ha?
Yeah, it is. It's just the tip of the iceberg. Are you okay? Do you want me to give you 3 to 5 minutes? Are you good?
Yeah,
All
I'm
right, all
okay.
right. All right, all right. Sige, sige. So, sorry, we've actually strayed a lot from from the topic languishing, but I like straying off topic. I like doing this because, you know, wala lang. I like to get to know more stuff. So I like to ask you na, 'di ba you said that you had a year, like last year you were so disoriented and all that. Like,
Sobra.
comparing that year to the year now, like what makes you so, what keeps you going, and like what are the things that make you happy? Who are the people that you're thankful for? And, you know, how are you how are you with yourself? Like what's your relationship with yourself now?
Oh, I love that question. I so love this question. Ay, nako.
Go,
Na,
go.
but thank you for asking that na. Okay, wait lang. How am I with myself right now? Siguro, I'm happier with myself right now. I'm
Mhm.
a lot busier, but in a good way. Kumbaga, I'm productive. I get things done. I'm getting somewhere. Parang
Yeah.
I don't wake up with a so-so feeling right now. And
Mhm.
siguro this feeling of accomplished, or this feeling of purpose na I'm feeling right now, I owe this to my relatives. First, I owe this to my parents
Mhm.
who encouraged me to take the risk of of leaving a stable job to starting my own.
Mhm.
I owe this to my relatives, especially yung tito and tita ko, no, who happened to be running this accounting and auditing firm. They were also very, very, and I couldn't emphasize it enough. They were very also instrumental in my decision making. And then I owe it to my
Mhm.
cousins who I love so much. Kasi, kumbaga, I think this year I have grown to realize that it is not what we aren't capable of that holds us back. It's the fear that we don't deserve the life our most capable selves could create. So kumbaga,
Mhm. Please
I feel,
expound, please expound. I'd
yeah,
like to know more about that.
yeah, okay. Parang kasi I think it's my fear, it's my anxiety of and it's my ambiguous thought of, it's the vagueness of success for me. It's a vagueness rather. It's
Mhm.
the ambiguity of success that was holding me back. I don't know where I was headed. But now, step by, if I'm being honest with you, at this point, as we speak,
Mhm.
I still don't know what my future looks like. I still don't
Uh-huh.
know where this whole thing is gonna bring me. But the fact is, I'm not so fixated on the end goal anymore, because I am
Mhm.
enjoying my journey right now. I am enjoying it so much. I'm enjoying it
Mhm.
so much. I'm so happy na kumbaga I'm at peace with myself. So parang hindi ko na iniisip how it's gonna, of course I am still for a forward thinking person. Iniisip ko pa rin yung long-term repercussions ng decisions that I'm making every day.
Mhm.
But I'm not fixated by that anymore. I'm just taking life as it is, kumbaga gradual. And siguro like um siguro, di ba you asked me to expound on what I said earlier.
Yes,
Siguro
yes.
key takeaway there is that um feeling ko kasi feeling ko kasi hanggang dito lang ako at nung una.
Mhm.
So feeling ko it's I think I am capable of so much more. I think I am capable of doing so much more. And again, not to sound insensitive to
Mm-hmm.
the current situation, to the current reality, but in a way, the pandemic allowed me, and that feeling of the pandemic allowed me to feel languished, and that language
Mm-hmm.
allowed me to understand that sometimes um the journey is just as important as the end goal or as your
Mm-hmm.
destination. Kumbaga, happiness is in the journey, not in the destination. Kumbaga, I could be just as happy where I am now as I
Mm-hmm.
could be kung ma-achieve ko man, whatever it is that life has set out for me. So, ayun. So, when you ask me how I am right now with myself, I would say I am more at peace with where I am headed. I still don't know, ha. I still haven't got everything figured out.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be mistaken. I still haven't got it figured out. Saan ako papunta, but I'm happy where I am. I have a peace of mind. I'm at peace with what I am becoming slowly for the past 2 3 months. So ayun, and I'm meeting a lot of people. I'm talking to different people from different industries, and I'm getting so much insight. So ayun,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
That's great. And yeah, I actually not really downplaying the pandemic's effects to us and all that. However, um the things that knock you down will eventually let you learn something. And yeah, and with that, you know, I learned a lot of stuff throughout the pandemic also. At the start of the pandemic, my relationship with myself wasn't really that great. I really beat myself up sometimes for not being that great of a person. And right now, because of the pandemic, I've actually learned to be patient. You know, patience is one of the most important thing that you have to learn. Patience does a lot w-
Mm,
with it. It does a lot for yourself. It makes you patient with yourself. If you make mistakes, then you'd learn that in time that you'd be a better person. Also, patience will help with your relationships because not all relationships are perfect, and that's one of the most important things when in battling languishing, because you really need to be patient because it's not something that can be solved within a month even. Sometimes, like for example, it would take a year or maybe even 2 years to battle this sense of stagnation, demotivation, but at least you know every day that you're getting somewhere. And um i like I'd like you to share your thoughts on how what are the things that people can do every single day to know that, you know, that to assure them, basically, like for example, hang on. I'm trying, it's hard to verbalize it, but i I'm basically just asking, what are the things that we all can do to put ourselves at peace in this pandemic, or not really in this pandemic, but in the idea that we're languishing so much. And because I know a lot of people who are suffering from that, and I know a lot of people who has been like affected by that for so long throughout the pandemic, and it's hard. It's because their environment is not perfect too. So yeah.
okay, siguro I'm not sure if I'm the best person to like
Yeah, it's all right.
sorry naman, like I'm still experiencing it, and of course I'm also just starting in life. So siguro the best advice I could offer is to remind yourself that all you can do is your best and be at
Mm-hmm.
peace with it. Kumbaga, sometimes we're so hard on ourselves. We expect so much of ourselves na, at the end of the day, what does that mean for us? Where does that get us, So
Mm-hmm.
siguro, yun, that's number one. Second is to set the right expectations. Hold on, I'm just gonna.
Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Okay. Ayun. So, ayun. So, yun lang. Um, actually, the advice that I could again, I wouldn't call it advice, no, but like more like nuggets of ano lang, nuggets of inspirations.
Uh-huh.
Is that siguro to combat yung what we're feeling right now, yung feeling of stagnation, feeling of being so languished and depressed but not happy, is siguro understand. I read this book, yung Seven Habits of Highly
Yeah.
Effective. Of course, everybody knows that. And there's this phrase that stuck with me. I realized happiness is a proactive choice. So we can
Mm.
carry our own physical or social weather with us. So kumbaga, whenever you feel down or whenever that feeling of being languished or depressed and there's like succumbs kumbaga eats you like a parang wave again, try not to succumb to it by thinking na today I'll try to be happy. I don't have to
Mhm.
be happy, I just try to be happy, you know. Kumbaga our idea of success is so warped, kumbaga it's incredibly flawed. Parang feeling natin success is all there is. Kumbaga, pag nag-succeed tayo, happy na tayo agad. Doesn't work that
Mm.
way. You know, failure is a scary thing, but it's only from failure that you actually learn a lot. Kumbaga, there was a point na I've been watching a lot of Korean dramas. Tapos
Hey, let's go. Okay, okay, go ahead.
and then there's one na sobrang nag-change ng perspective ko. It's called My Mister, the one starring IU and Lee Dong-hoon.
Oh,
My
okay.
Mister. Sobrang ganda. Doon ko na-realize na when you fail, so what? It's not
Mhm.
you're not your life's not gonna end with hints of failure. Actually,
Mm.
because when you fail and you start over, you're not starting from scratch. You're starting from experience. So very monumental yun with changing how I think. And I think yun, for people who wants to combat that kind of feeling, I'd suggest they watch that. Kasi sobrang galing yun. Parang we are so scared of starting anywhere, of starting with or getting along with anything because we're all even with relationships we're scared it won't work. But
Mhm.
sometimes you just have it's very cliche. I myself don't like hearing it, but sometimes you have to take a leap of faith. Yun lang. Kumbaga, you
Yeah.
just have to make the first step. It's always making the first step that's very, very hard. It's very challenging. It's very demanding. It's gonna take all of your effort to take the first step. Parang pagising lang yun sa umaga. It takes every ounce of effort to get out of
Yeah.
the comfortable bed. But it is that action that will dictate the rest of your day. It's how you wake up that will dictate the rest of your day. So ganun lang din, I
Mhm.
suppose, with anything we want to do in life. It's always the first step. For example, you have your if there are any relationships that you want to mend, it's always making the first step. It's always taking the initiative to do that. Or there's a career you've been wanting to take. It's always the first step to finding out more about that career. Parang ganun.
Mhm.
So, ayun lang. Yun lang. And ako, siguro,
Well said, well said.
another thing that I would also love to tell people, and even my younger self, no? Had I known
Mhm.
what I already know now, siguro I'll tell myself to know when to stop. Yeah.
Mhm.
Know when to stop. No? Kasi our ego is never going to be satisfied no matter how much we achieve or acquire. Our ego will always want something more. So we'll always find in ourselves in a perpetual state of striving and reaching for a new end goal. So
Mm.
kumbaga, it makes us seem like we never arrived at any of our goals. But the thing is, we're already there. We've already succeeded. But we're just so fixated at new things. So sometimes you just have to know when to stop. So yun. Yun
That's
lang.
true.
Said so much. Yeah.
Nice. Well said, well said. Actually, side note, what what are the top 3 K-dramas that you like to watch? That you
Okay.
watched? What's your
Okay.
top 3?
Okay. If I were for a K-drama newbie, ang lagi ko nire-recommend first is Reply 1988, Umda Para, Ilgupan Pa.
Uh-huh.
And then Reply 1988, My Mister. My Mister is very well written. It's gonna shape your life. It's gonna make you want to be a really good person. Kumbaga, being a good
Mhm.
person is intentional. Ang ganda niya. So, yon. Second, third is Kill Me, Heal Me. Kill Me, Heal Me.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Ang
All
ganda. It's,
right.
yeah, go ahead.
Nice. Okay. Sorry, I'm just happy because I never. I never thought you'd like K-drama and all that. Do you also like K-pop? Just a
I
side
do.
note. Oh, you
I do.
do? Oh
But
shit.
more like old school K-pop. Yung time
Uh-huh,
ng
uh-huh.
Super Junior, Girls' Generation, Big Bang.
Like 2anyone.
Yes, that generation. Doon ako
Ah,
talaga
okay,
very
okay.
active. I used to burn my spendings on Super Junior novelty
Oh my
item.
god.
No? So bad, right? I know. But yeah, they were the generation that I grew up to. Sobrang, I love the memories.
Actually, yeah, because of well, I just got to know K-pop last year, and I'm kind of the new generation kind of type, so I'm sorry, but it's okay. But yeah, yeah. I mean, I love ITZY, I love BTS, I love Blackpink. I'm that mainstream normie, but it's okay. I enjoy it. Yun. Actually, I think that we're pretty much done with our topic. I think we've actually tackled a lot of stuff from happiness, productivity. We talked more about happiness, productivity, mindset than the actual languishing itself, but it's okay because those are the things that cover languishing too. It's like an umbrella, if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. And yeah. Um lastly, I just like to hear some last words from you, if ever. Like, if you want to say something,
Okay,
like, oh, also, if you want to plug in your Instagram, YouTube, or your business, of course, please do. I'd I'd be happy if you did. So, yeah, go ahead.
ako, siguro my last few words is, for this podcast, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, yeah, for the podcast.
I'm not going anywhere. No, I'm kidding. Siguro ako, work quietly.
Mm-hmm.
Work quietly. So success doesn't have to be loud. You know, well, if you want it to be known, there's no problem. There's nothing negative in that. But sometimes when you're in the process of building yourself, sometimes you have to work quietly. The world doesn't necessarily have to learn about it, especially when you're
Mm-hmm.
beginning. So, kumbaga, if you can work quietly, you should. Because you do not need to generate the attention, I suppose. You can let the
Mm-hmm.
excellence of your work speak for itself. Then that's how you're going to be settled. Because sometimes where we feel so compelled to tell the world about this is what I did, ganyan, ganyan. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. Okay, it's okay. It's okay. It's just that for me personally, um, I like to work in silence. Kumbaga,
Mm-hmm.
low key. Yan. That's why I wasn't gonna plug muna any
Oh, okay, okay.
handles. But if people are interested, they can visit creatives by gk.com. It's there for
Mm-hmm.
social media management and project management. Yeah, engagements. But siguro ako, just fall in love with life. Yun yung last word. You just make life your own. Kumbaga, anytime you feel something makes your heart beat, or anything na you find something that makes your life a tad bit interesting, go for it. Dance upon it. Just make your life your own. Every time, anytime na, if you ever find yourself in a situation where you feel at home, cherish it, but don't be so complacent kasi baka mamaya yun na pala yung comfort zone mo. And the longer you stay there, the less time there is for you to grow. So, ayun lang. So, ayun. Enjoy life and own your life. And make the proactive choice to be happy. So, ayun. Yeah.
All right. All right. Thank you so much, Isabel. Um, yeah, my last words probably just
Ay, ako pala, I have another. Sorry,
yeah,
sorry.
go ahead, no problem.
One last. The most, always remember, the most beautiful thing about the day is it dawns. Okay. So when the day
Mm,
ends, another day starts. Okay. So kumbaga, don't be discouraged when things don't go your way instantly. Because when you start
mm,
a day, you start from a clean slate. Like we all do. Like we all do. We're running. You might think that what one's ahead of one another, you don't have to compare that. So, ayun.
all right. So yeah, all right. So thank you guys so much for listening. I had so much fun. Honestly, at the start I was very nervous because, well, this is my first time talking to Isabel, and yeah, and I was like, oh shit, will I do a good job? But I think that what we've shared is important, and whether I do a good job or not, at least you guys have heard this, have heard this message, have heard the ideas that have circulated in the podcast. And yun, I'd like to thank Isabel so much for taking the time. I know she's a very busy person, or she's a person who has a lot of things going on also. And I'm so happy that you've spent your time today for me and for this podcast. Um, I'd like to thank myself because
Oh, thank you,
no,
Angelo. Mm.
I
Thank you.
you're welcome, you're welcome.
What you do here is
Um,
actually really great. You know, you're providing an avenue for a lot of people to just talk about their feelings loud in the open. You provide an avenue for people to verbalize their emotions or contextualize their feelings, their thoughts. So thank you, no, thank you V for variety. It's really
thank you.
and yeah,
Thank you so much. Yes, yes.
and I was hoping you can insert this somewhere na lang in one of the previous questions because
Sure.
I'm hoping na my parents would listen. But yeah, I just really want to thank my mom and dad for everything.
Mm-hmm.
They would know when they listen. Yeah, they were also they were crucial to my decision making, and yeah, I owe every bit of the person I am to them. So yeah, I'm thankful. Okay.
I'm also thankful for my dad because I'm also thankful for my dad because without him, I wouldn't have all these. I wouldn't be able to do all these. Like the person I am is also shaped by him a lot. So, and if you're thanking your mom and dad, I'd like to thank my dad too. um.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So thank you guys so much for listening and or watching if you're on YouTube. And yeah, I hope you learned something today. I hope that this made your day at least a tad bit better. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. This has been Isabel, and then this has been me. Bye.
Bye.